Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking at the absolute best companions in the Legend of Zelda series. Our choices are based on a combination of personality and how useful they are to the player. Also, since we'll be going over their roles within each story, we'll go ahead and issue a spoiler warning. But before we dive in, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Fi, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. Starting off with what I know is a controversial pick, there's a reason I specified Fi from the HD version. In the original game, her frequent interruptions about unimportant things like low Wiimote batteries could grow annoying. Thankfully, these were toned down in the re-release. It allowed us to better appreciate her arc, growing from basically an emotionless robot to feeling happiness and friendship, which reaches its peak during her heartfelt goodbye at the end of the game. She also gives Link the ability to track certain items or characters. While not as flashy as some other companion abilities, it's undeniably useful. Plus, for all intents and purposes, she is the Master Sword. This adds a great new layer to Link's connection to the famous blade in past games, as well as those that came after. Try, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. When it comes to judging how useful a companion is to the lead character, Zelda would be absolutely lost without Try. This adorable little creature allows her to summon echoes, copies of different items and weapons collected across the game that are used in a variety of ways to solve puzzles and fight enemies. Personality-wise, they are a little bland in comparison to others. They're perfectly fine, good-natured, eager to help, but they don't have as many layers. Still, they're another one who was created for a sole purpose, yet comes to find greater meaning through their partnership with Zelda. This leads to another heartwarming goodbye at the end of the game, though not quite the gut punch of Fi. The Sages, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. To be fair, the Sages are a bit of a mixed bag. Link teams up with each one for their respective dungeon, and afterwards can call on what is essentially a manifestation of their spirit that grants different abilities and helps in combat. However, these manifestations don't speak, so you really only get their personalities during their quest lines and a few other parts of the story. Also, how useful their ability is and how likable they are can range. Many seem to like Tulin the most, which is understandable. His gust ability is great for traveling, he constantly lands headshots in combat, and his eagerness to prove himself while being an adorable little tyke makes him extremely likable. Personally, on the opposite end of the spectrum for me is Yunobo, whose timidness and tendency to say Goro at the end of most sentences grows tiring. So too does his placement on the front of your Zonai vehicles, meant so you can launch him off as an attack, but still weighing down your airborne creations to the point where I just keep him switched off entirely. Still, this was an interesting way to bring back companions in a game like this after there were none in Breath of the Wild. Epona, Various. How could we not include Link's trusted steed? Since her debut in Ocarina of Time, Epona has been a welcome inclusion in the series, a warm friend to greet us whenever she showed up. Although you'd expect a video game horse to not have much personality, Nintendo has still managed to include some small bits, like how she's shy of everyone in Ocarina of Time, or her fierce loyalty to Link as seen in Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess. Plus, whenever you earn her, she allows Link to jump over obstacles to reach new areas, and travel much faster than on foot, which is highly useful. Although the more freedom-focused angle that came with Breath of the Wild made horses less useful, if you unlock Epona by scanning certain amiibo, you'll find she naturally has better stats than most other horses in the game. Linebeck, The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass. Linebeck features a ton of qualities that you'd normally hate in a real person. He's selfish, cowardly, and greedy. Yet, because this is played up for comedic effect throughout Phantom Hourglass, you can't help but find him endlessly entertaining. Plus, he does grow throughout the journey to be more selfless, to the point of putting his life on the line for Link during the climax. Also, these negative traits make him a lot more engaging and memorable to the player, whereas Ciela, the game's fairy companion, doesn't leave much of an impression. As far as usefulness goes, well, Link wouldn't get very far in the game without Linebeck's steamboat, even if he only lets him use it on the promise of treasure. Zelda, The Legend of Zelda, Spirit Tracks. Zelda plays a bigger role in Spirit Tracks than any other game, serving as the companion. After her spirit is removed from her body, she journeys with Link to put a stop to those responsible, who seek to use her body as a vessel for a demon king named Malladus. The same qualities we like about other versions of the princess can be found here, just with more of a focus. She's sweet, noble, and her obvious budding romantic feelings for Link are endearing. Plus, her literal out-of-body experience leads to some great comedic scenes. Her usefulness is, admittedly, a bit circumstantial. She can possess phantoms, knight-like enemies found only in the Tower of Spirits, of which there are a few types with different abilities for puzzle solving. But it's nonetheless great to have her along for the ride. The King of Red Lions. The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. Similar to Linebeck, Link wouldn't get far without the King of Red Lions and the Wind Waker. In fact, he probably would have drowned. The talking ship, which is already a pretty cool idea for a companion, carries Link from island to island on the Great Sea. So his practicality is obvious. However, he also serves as a connection between this world and the past of a non-sunken Hyrule, since he's really the spirit of the former king in disguise. For the most part, he's stoic and honorable, but there's an interesting layer of regret over what befell his kingdom, as well as a desire, a hope for future generations. This makes him an almost tragic figure, which is a nice surprise. Ezlo, The Legend of Zelda, The Minish Cap. As you'll see with our final few picks, we love a companion with a healthy dose of sass. Ezlo was once a respected inventor amongst the Minish, a minuscule race living in this era of Hyrule. But he was then betrayed and turned into a talking cap by his protege, Vati. As Link's companion, he never hides his bitterness over the situation, and could be best described as a crotchety curmudgeon. His pairing with the bright-eyed hero makes their dynamic a delightful one. He's a great source of humor, and a warmness grows in Ezlo as the story progresses. On top of acting as a parachute during certain sequences, allowing Link to glide, Ezlo's main ability is letting him change size to explore the hidden, miniature society within Hyrule Kingdom. This is, by far, one of the most charming aspects of Minish Cap. Tatl, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Unlike most other companions, Tatl doesn't start Majora's Mask seeking Link's help. In fact, she's pretty mean, helping the Skull Kid rob him. So, when they're paired up, this immediately makes for an interesting yet strained partnership. As you play, layers of her get pulled back. Her devotion to her younger brother, Tail, gives her a certain softness, and her beginning to understand how far gone Skull Kid is in his madness lets her see the error of her ways. Yet she retains her edge in any given situation. Her usefulness is similar to Navi in Ocarina of Time, coming with the same groundbreaking targeting feature and giving helpful tips on enemies. However, Tatl is far less obnoxious in her sound design and much deeper of a character. Midna, The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. This isn't necessarily ranked, but let's be honest. Midna is the best companion in The Legend of Zelda. That's not saying anything new either. She's a favorite to many in the fan base for good reason. At first, she comes off as a bit morally ambiguous, only using Link for her own goals. This actually makes her more interesting than others, since there's still a definite charm and a dark glee to everything she says. But the care and rapport that grows between them is unmatched across the franchise. When you learn of her backstory, how her throne was usurped and her people taken advantage of, sympathy for her blends with the utter enjoyment you get from interacting with her. As far as usefulness goes, she can teleport Link around the world and charge an aura around his wolf form that allows him to attack multiple enemies at once. But really, it's her riveting characterization and dialogue that makes her so beloved to fans. Other than Midna, who's your favorite companion in the Zelda series? I'm sure we'll get some Navi defenders, but hey, listen, she's annoying. Anyway, share your thoughts in the comments.